Okay, so I have finished installing my Denali D7 Pros, which I'm using, as well as the S4s. You can see the S4s on the bottom there. Pretty cool looking, I think. Not too gaudy, having them kind of on the inside. They're pretty big size lights. But there's a couple things I wanted to add to my previous video that came across while I was installing these. One of which is that I mentioned running a cable underneath the ignition switch to go over to this side, which with the single cable I'd had no problem doing that. When I tried to get my Y cable under there to go to the other two circuits, I couldn't get the connector under here. So what I did is I took one of these 5-foot long cables, which just have a male on one end and a female on the other end, and I cut it. I cut it in about half. I ran that cable with I left the female side over here and ran that cut cable that went right through, no problem. And then you can see here, if I'm lucky, it's got some electrical tape on it there. And let me get my light down here. And so I put some heat shrink red 18 gauge butt connectors on there. So I ran the wire through, stripped it back. I added the male part of it back onto it, but instead of being 5 feet long, I cut it down to about 1 foot, excuse me. So it made it just a whole lot easier to get that Y fitting, because it's kind of thick and I didn't really want it in that curvy area anyway. So it just gave me a little link to go from left to right. It worked out really well and it was easy. So I would recommend that. And then just be careful with your wire routing and your zip ties. Let me grab my light again here. Just be careful when you're routing your wires to make sure you get everything out of the way. Turn your steering back and forth and just make sure you're not going to be in the way of anything. So I have all the wires kind of zip tied off in the edges there. And zip tied away over here too. So everything's clear of the handlebars and whatnot. Now, I'm using the Hex Easy Can. Denali's CAN bus is the same thing, different color. And this is, again, a mini USB going into the laptop. I'm going to just show you how I have the software set up. So I'm using 3 channels. The white circuit is, I called it auxiliary 1, left and right. And then yellow circuit is deactivated currently, not using that one. My blue circuit is going to be auxiliary to left, and my red circuit is auxiliary to right. So these are the two that do the left and right center 3 lights on the D7 Pros. This is the one that does the outside lights of the D7 Pros and my S4s all together. Now, on the settings, at least for the Hex, the yellow is low beam, the blue is high beam, and you see there's day and night intensity. So I have the white circuit set up at 20% intensity all the time in low beam. I don't use high beams during the day anyway, but it's 20% all the time on low beams and 100% all the time when I'm on high beams. So everything's 100% on high beam. Coming over here, these are only going to be on when the engine is running. They're going to be off when the turn signals are active. I have these set to strobe when I lay on the horn. Not for flash to pass, which is like a 3 tap of your bright indicators, makes them flash. I'm never going to do that anyway. I don't want all these bright white lights flashing when I have my hazards on. I am going to, you'll see, have the center of the D7s flashing, both with blinkers and hazards. So having said that, I'm going to scroll down to the other circuit. See, now we are on red and blue, which is the center lights, left and right. And day intensity, again, 20%. I'm sorry, low beam intensity, day and night. And then high beam intensity, I have set at 100% all the time. So high beam is big time lights all over. Now these guys, I wanted to be on when I turn my ignition switch on rather than just when the engine's running, because I think it looks super cool. And then if you look at my blinkers, see I have it flash when turn signal is active. I could change this to off, which makes the lights just turn off when the turn signals are on. I believe I have my white ones that way. I need to double check because I don't want those ones on when the turn signals are going. Or I can just disable this altogether, and that makes lights just stay on all the time, whether or not your turn signals are on. So I'm going to enable this. I'm going to switch it back to flash. There we go. And now those center lights are going to be blinker lights. I also have these guys, like I said, inverse flashing with my hazards. And at least for now, I have the orange lenses on them. They come with 3 different colors, orange, yellow, and white. Now I'm going to click on these 3 little dots. I'm going to go to extra settings and show you one more thing, which I think will be super important, and that is this setting right here. Adjust left right LED turn signal frequency. You see I turned that down to 30%. Now these lights are uber bright, and I don't want those flashing at 100% when I'm in a turn lane and it's dark out. So I'm worried about blinding people with my flashers, which I'm pretty sure these would do. So I have it set to 30%. I'm gonna have to take it out and road test and play with all these and make sure I have them where I really want them to be. And then, yeah, I just want to make sure this is off when the turn signal's active on my white lights. Okay, so I'll show you this real quick on the bike. This is, again, not a review. It's just kind of an install video, but and I haven't even road tested it yet. But I'm going to turn my ignition on. Now, one more thing I'll mention is you can't tell with your naked eye, but these lights actually flash like really fast. Too fast for you to even be able to tell. But when you record them with a camera, they look like they're flashing all the time because of the frame rate of the camera. It means that sometimes they're on, sometimes they're off as the camera sees it. But to your naked eye, they don't vibrate like you'll see they do with the camera. So let's just turn our ignition on. You'll see that the center lights are coming on now, but the outside lights and the S4s are not on. Now, it's going to get a little loud in here when I start the bike, but we'll do that. So here is our low beam. And on low beam, everything is 20%. I have the sensors, I have the outsides, and I have the S4s. When I go to high beam, and you can't tell this, but it is so crazy bright. Now we're at 100% on everything. Now, if I am to turn my left turn signal on, you'll see all of the lights turn off except for my turn signal, of course, and the center of the D7 Pros. Now, I don't know how easy this is to tell, but the way I mounted the D7 Pros, it looks like an exclamation point now. Exclamation mark when I turn my blinkers on. That's kind of cool. I'll turn those off. You'll see the lights all come back on. And I think our brights are back on, so we'll turn the brights off. When I go right blinker, again, we have our right blinker on that side. All the other lights are, hey, that left one's not turned off. I'll fix that. But yeah, so the right blinker is blinking. Actually, I don't think I mind that the left one stays on. That's good enough. Did it do that with the left as well? Yeah, it did. Okay, and then if I turn my hazards on, you'll see that they do what I asked them to, and they flash invertedly with the hazard lights. I think that looks really cool. I pretty much never use hazard lights, but it's neat looking. So we'll go ahead and turn this off. Maybe. Okay, we're turned off. So that just gives you a good idea of some of the versatility you get using a CAN bus that you just can't get with either a dial-a-dim or any other kind of switching system. So yes, I have a little cleanup to do in the battery box here, but other than that, we're pretty much ready for a road test. And I'm super pumped with these lights. I think they worked out really good. It was not that difficult. And I think that's it. Cheers. Have a good day.